breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show, and I am your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you today. We got some good stories we're going to talk about today. Meta plans to cut around 10% of employees in Reality Labs business. Apple teams up with Google for AI and its products. Anthropic's new co-work tool offers Claude code without the code. OpenAI buys tiny health records startup Torch for reportedly 100 million. And finally, why Amazon bought Bee, an AI wearable. So that's going to be fun. Let's dive into some of the market indicators. The Dow Jones is up 0.17%. The NASDAQ is up 0.26%. The S&P 500 is up 0.16%. And Bitcoin is up 2.07%, up to 92,545. Before we talk about today's stories, make sure to download Byte AI Market Analysis, which is a financial co-pilot that tells you whether you should enter or exit the stock market for every single one of the stocks in your portfolio. It does it based off of technical indicators like the Bollinger Bands, RSI curve, and MACD/signal curve, as well as news sentiment. And it uses AI, and it basically reads everything and tells you what you should do. And you can choose whether or not to follow that. Like right now, Amazon is underbought, everything else is neutral. Of course, it's not a financial advisor, neither am I, and past success does not guarantee future results, but it's a great tool that I use every morning. You can download it off the App Store, Byte AI Market Analysis, or just Byte AI on the App Store iOS. Let's dive into the first story. Meta plans to cut around 10% of employees in its Reality Labs business. The layoffs are set to be announced this week and would affect Meta's work on the metaverse, as the company spends heavily on building artificial intelligence. Yeah, so there have been some big moves. Of course, with Meta acquiring Manus, the Singapore company that's doing AI agents, just last week. And Meta sort of investing in sort of nuclear energy to create like gigawatts of energy to power the AI. So they're sort of making some power plays in this space. Of course, they're going to have to cut some of the budget from, well, the metaverse, which is apparently what they're doing here. So it seems like they're laying off 10% of their workforce in the metaverse. So how about that? The company also revealed a project called Meta Compute, which Mr. Zuckerberg said would create data centers powered by tens of gigawatts this decade and hundreds of gigawatts or more over time. Even as the AI race has ramped up, Meta has said it is not giving up on the metaverse, but the Silicon Valley company appears to be redefining exactly what that might look like. Yeah, same thing with Bill Gates with his like blog post from a few months ago. He's like, yeah, actually, green energy isn't actually all that important, but we're not giving up. No, it's just we're redefining what green energy means. And of course, it's like, well, Microsoft kind of needs to compete with Meta and Google and all the big players for powering their data centers. Obviously their Microsoft Copilot is just open. It's just a wrapper on OpenAI, but yeah. So obviously they need to not fall behind with that. Well, how do you not fall behind? Well, you kind of review perhaps self-imposed restrictions, and you say, okay, well, we kind of have to win now. Things were kind of okay before AI came out. Apple teams up. Speaking of AI, Apple teams up with Google for AI in its products. Apple is facing increasing questions for its plans for artificial intelligence as other big tech companies invested tens of billions in the technology. Something must have gone wrong with OpenAI because they had this deal in 2024 where OpenAI ChatGPT kind of powers Apple Intelligence. And from what I understand, there was a huge miscommunication between the teams, right? Internally in Apple, like with Siri, with the advertising team, with sort of just, I guess, the new team covering the AI models. And it's like, it didn't like I it's not all OpenAI's fault. I don't know what happened, but it's like something didn't click that we don't know about, because it's like, what's Apple gonna do? Like, the UI isn't really gonna change, I don't expect. It's just they're just swapping out OpenAI for Google. Um, so yeah, so I would expect this move from Apple because um, I kind of talked about this last week, but OpenAI, like, don't get me wrong, I'm still like behind them and everything. Like, I use them daily, like for my own purposes, but it's like OpenAI isn't exactly the safest bet because, again, they need to sort of 5x their revenue just to meet, like, for example, one of their contracts by 2027. And they have a whole bunch of contracts like that for data centers, for other things. So it's like they're not making enough money to stay solvent in the next few years. That's the point. And so Apple, of course, being, notorious for being like kind of on the straight and narrow, it makes sense that they went with Google, who doesn't have that same problem, right? Of course, OpenAI had a huge head start and also still has the most monthly active users and weekly active users. I think it's like 1.2 like billion, and then Gemini is like at 650 or something. Grok is at 600, give or take. So in that ballpark, like that. But yeah, anyways, so that's what's going on, Gemini. But I mean, this isn't even a new story. We were talking about this like 2 months ago. So here's a joint statement from Google and Apple. Apple and Google have entered a multi-year collaboration under which the next generation of Apple Foundation models will be based off of Google Gemini's models and cloud technology. These models will help power future Apple Intelligence features, including a more personalized Siri coming this year. After careful evaluation, Apple determined that Google's AI technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple Foundation models and is excited about the new innovative experiences it will unlock for Apple users. Apple Intelligence will continue to run on Apple devices and private compute cloud while maintaining Apple's industry-leading privacy standards. Okay, so I guess they're like what they're kind of sunsetting Apple Intelligence. Seems like they're not just outright axing it. Anthropic's new co-work tool offers Claude Code without the code. You know how popular Claude Code is, like in this space, in like the founders space, technical founder space. It's extremely popular. Yeah, if I had a nickel every time someone told me, who's like a startup founder, that they're using Claude Code, I'd have like at least like $5. Um, yeah. So I guess they're kind of doing like a UI for Claude Code because it's more of a bash tool right now. Um, I think actually they already made that leap, but I guess they're expanding it even more. I think they made that leap in like October to having a physical UI. But here, I guess, like in this Cowork app, it's built into the Claude desktop app, and Claude can read or modify files within like a designated folder. Without further instructions given through the standard chat interface, right? Which is kind of limiting. Like, who uses a chat interface these days? Well, the answer is the Claude Code users, which there are a lot of. But it's like, as a product designer, why would you do that? But yeah, the result is similar to a sandbox instance of Claude Code, but requires a far less technical savvy setup. Yeah. Nice. And here's Anthropic just piggybacking off of that all the way back in March 14th, 2025, saying that in 3 to 6 months, AI will be writing 90% of the code software developers were in charge of. Yeah. And of course, they knew that Claude Code was going to come out and everything. And yeah, absolutely correct. OpenAI buys tiny health record startup Torch for reportedly 100 million. It's kind of wild. Because the team is actually a 4-person team in San Francisco. So this is a big kind of middle finger to the boomers who tell you, oh, there can only be one Zuckerberg, there can only be one Bill Gates. It's like, no, no. It's like that meme, there can only be one. No, that's incorrect. Um, but yeah, it's kind of wild. So apparently, so what does Torch do? They essentially have been working on an app for about a year, mind you. They're not very old, like the company. Torch was working on an app that combined all of a person's medical information for AI use from a range of sources, including doctor's visits, lab tests, wearables, and other portals, including consumer wellness tests and the like. The Torch team called their tech a medical memory for AI, unifying scattered records into a context engine. And they met. Oh yeah, that was just from here. And then they met while working together at Forward Health, right? Which apparently was a much larger $400 million venture backed by SoftBank, mind you, company. But they failed. So Forward Health went under in 2024 and they shut down and they had to give all their VC money back. But these guys kind of made it out. So imagine that. It's kind of like bad analogy, but kind of like the Titanic. It's like, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't make it out, right? Hence Forward Health, going under. And then a 4-person team kind of makes it out early-ish, and then they're able to make it to safety, OpenAI. Yeah, so, I mean, 1912, is it? I think enough time has passed where we can make light humor. Why Amazon bought Bee, an AI wearable. Smart rings. So it kind of goes into it here. So I guess the whole point of Bee is that it remembers conversations, and it's like this bracelet, I guess. And so Bee apparently learns from its users, gaining an understanding of their patterns, insights, and commitments, which can help it to suggest to-do items and follow-ups throughout your day. Early use cases have included students who record lectures, elderly people who have trouble remembering things, and people who speak for a living and don't always want to take notes manually. By the way, just on recording lectures, that's so dumb. It's like, and it's really funny because, especially like coming off of the pandemic and kind of during it as well, all these professors were like, oh my God, why don't we have good retention metrics? Or in other words, like, why don't students actually show up to lecture? Well, it's because you kind of stream them every day online, dipshit. Like, just stop doing that and then give points for like showing up for attendance. And they're like, most of them are like, I never thought of that. It's like, yeah, no shit, because you're a dumbass. No, for real. Like, some people are so like, there's no doubt they're like incredibly up there IQ wise, but it's like when it comes to like strategy, they don't know shit. And it's pretty wild. Anyways, no. I actually like a lot of MIT professors, but I had a little rant. I just want to get that out there. Okay, I think we're gonna leave it there for today. Make sure you guys download Byte AI off the App Store to make better trades. Hope you make lots of money out there today in the stock market and minimize any losses, if any. And I will be seeing you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.